Thursday, November 12th, 2020, still in the middle of Election Day, I guess you would say, as we try to figure out who in the hell the next president of the United States is going to be. Speaking of the president of the United States, President Trump will be joining us on this show in the second half of today's program. Believe it or not, we will have President Trump right here. You're not going to want to miss that. We support President Trump. We are patriots. We know that you're all patriots. We also support the police, law and order, just like the president does. We back the blue. We defend the police, and we oppose all of the defund stuff. The best way for you to, logistically support police, if you really want to, is by drinking Law Dog coffee. Of course, Law Dog coffee is a sponsor of PC Radio, but we also drink the coffee. I pay for it, and the reason why I pay for it is because I know that a portion of the proceeds from the sale of every single bag, every pound of Law Dog coffee goes to the Wounded Blue. The Wounded Blue, founded by Randy Sutton, is an organization that has documented assisting over 6,000 families of catastrophically wounded police officers. So make sure that you get over there, show your support, and drink good coffee all at the same time. Go to lawdogcoffeepcradio.com. That's lawdogcoffeepcradio.com. lawdogcoffeepcradio.com. Use the promo code PC Radio for 10% off site-wide, and stick around for the president right here on PC Radio. Let's go.
Kicking off liberal propaganda like an enemy of the Clintons.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Patriotically correct radio with Stu and Rich.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Mojo 50 Radio.
This store is now up and running, and if you have not had a chance to get over there and take a look, you are certainly missing out. All kinds of great gear, swag, coffee mugs, neck gaiters, all kinds of wonderful things. At the bottom of the screen, you see Travis Thorpe. We're going to get to him in a minute. It's going to shock you, actually, why he's here and what it is that we're going to be talking about with Travis Thorpe. There is a tipping point coming in America. We have been talking about it, Richard, for a very long time. Did you have a good Veterans Day yesterday and then last night after the show?
I did, yes. It was very good. Very good.
Good. I'm glad, because you deserve it. And to all the veterans out there, just that one day a year is a day that's named for you, but I want you to know that 364 other days out of these years, we appreciate everything that you do for our country, and every single day is for you. Richard, this morning I got up and I was reading, and trying to read and be able to rely on a source of news or information is becoming nearly impossible. Where do you go to get information? I mean, you can look on Twitter, you can look on Facebook, but everything there is one-sided. And you know that anything that supports our president, or anything that, combats a statistic or a fact that these independent fact checkers, want to give, it's all BS. It's all one-sided. It's all politically charged, and it all comes from one place on the radical left. You turn on the TV, it's the same thing. We used to be able to count on Fox to bring us real news, real information. You can't count on them anymore because they're swaying and falling off the cliff at the pressure of these radical leftist liberals. It's absolutely sick. But one thing that I did do this morning is I found something interesting, was this new Gallup poll. And according to the poll, more than half of Americans are going to refuse to comply with new coronavirus lockdowns this fall. In the new poll, 49% of respondents said they'll be very likely to stay home. When the springtime, that number was 67%, according to a CNN poll. Coronavirus, what is this thing that you speak of? I vaguely remember a virus that went around early in 2020. That was the year that Democrats tried to cheat Donald Trump out of a second term in the White House. Do you remember? Yeah, I seem to recall that doctor, what was his name? He put the fear of God into elderly people and citizens that had underlying health conditions. Flippy, Blippy. And then do you remember how later we found out that doctor had a financial stake in the game, and it later came to light that he didn't even believe what he was saying, as he told the entire country they should wear a mask. But then he went to a Major League Baseball game, and as the cameras panned the stadium, there he was right next to his buddies with no mask on. Yeah, that was the game. I think he threw out the first pitch. He threw like a bitch. Man, that guy. Oh yeah, the COVID.
Worse than Baba Booey.
Yeah, that's what they called it, COVID. And then what was that woman's name? That crazy one. Remember her, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Yes, that was her. She really shed the light on the importance of lockdowns lockdowns and masking. I mean, she was the one that proved how dangerous the virus was for anyone that wanted to get together over the summer to go out to eat or have some drinks with your buddies. Remember, she was like a mask nut job. She was a Nazi. She was like Lenin with those masks. I think she even had some masking police. My God, she was really convinced that virus was going to take us all down. I mean, she shut down restaurants and gyms. In California, you couldn't even get a haircut. I mean, she shut down salons. Oh, except for hers. Yeah. She was busted and exposed as a complete fraud and a total liar after a hair salon owner leaked footage of her getting her wig blowed out with no mask on, creeping around like some crazy criminal. Yeah, that was crazy. Those were the times. 2020. What a year that was. Do you think this new information we're seeing in these sliding restriction compliance numbers could have something to do with the forgotten details? Could this be a reaction to the little things the media missed? You know, the stuff they leave out as they blast COVID relentlessly through our televisions and into our living rooms, reminding us that over 80 million people have been infected and 200,000 have died. Tragic, of course, but I don't believe you. I'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, so when people do that math and realize the survivability is over 99%, when they realize they actually have a better chance of getting hit with lightning twice, or becoming a millionaire from a scratch-off, or how about a millionaire with pull tabs at the bar with Pat Scott? Do you think that they might be ready to roll the dice with the virus to prevent losing everything that they've ever worked for? I mean, the likelihood that your business will close down permanently without any customers is about the same percentage, about 99%. Restaurants and bars don't seem to do very well when they're not serving food or slinging drinks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was doing 4 years ago while she flipped her titties around for tip money in Brooklyn. My barber tells me she can't make any money without someone sitting in her chair. I was blown away when I heard that. I couldn't believe it when I heard that kids weren't learning as much as a result of not being in school. That really shocked the hell out of me. Suicides are going through the roof as people lose it all. Kids aren't able to report to their school counselor how their uncle is touching their pee-pee, or how their mom puts her cigarette out on their sister when she's drunk and pissed off. Yeah, child abuse and youth deaths are tragically becoming a part of this new normal these progressives keep telling me I'm supposed to accept. And we'll just have to get used to it. Yeah, the new normal. It's great. The new normal that forced an immigrant woman to shut down the doors on her newly opened business after she risked it all to flee to her third world country to escape real oppression and start her new life in the United States because we have a constitution, one that guarantees her the protection from a tyrannical government, the promise of equality and the right to be free. Do you think any of this weighs on the minds of those people giving the middle finger to radical, power-hungry liberal Democrats like Tim Walz in Minnesota or Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan? When Americans realize that these mandates really have nothing to do with safety and health, but everything to do with compliance and control, is it really supposed to shock or disturb us when they tell the government to go get bent? Am I supposed to believe the same media that suppressed the biggest story in our lifetime about how a father used his son as a money mule to cash out on a Ponzi scheme with foreign adversaries to this country as he compromised the national security of America and sold us out as the vice president of the United States? The same media that prematurely called an election for the highest office in the world, ignoring the fact that no state had certified their poll numbers. Massive fraud is suspected. Men married to Democratic senators sit on the board of directors for a computer company that supposedly mistakenly glitched, taking votes away from Donald Trump and giving them to Joe Biden. You know, so forgive me if I don't cower before my master, cover my face with a mask that isn't backed by any scientific data, close down my business, and lock myself inside for the winter because I'm told by the same people who've attempted multiple times to unseat a duly elected president by manufacturing lies about racism, misogyny, and Ukrainian phone calls, while corrupt establishment deep state politicians organize a fourth attempt at a coup d'etat. Meanwhile, the president they blame for the virus was the only one willing to immediately curb the spread when he shut down travel from the country that manufactured the damn thing. He's the same president that deregulated the hell out of drug makers, so rather than 6 years of bureaucratic red tape and lobbyist pay-to-play bullshit to get medicine on the market, a vaccine is ready to go in just months, only to be shut down by sickos like Andrew Cuomo in New York, who said he's actually ready to let frontline medical workers and your grandmother die rather than allowing them to acquire the vaccination as he trades lives for political optics. I don't know about you, but I'm part of the majority, and you can throw me in jail. Along with the upcoming tyrannical overreach using a virus to control the masses with fear, an election is being stolen, riots are overtaking our streets as criminal thugs manipulate weak police command staffs using racism as their mantra, and civil war in our country is all but imminent. We have to begin to think about that tipping point and to discuss what that might look like. Here to talk to us about that is Travis Thorpe. He's the guy that I told you about at the beginning of the segment. Thorpe is a former infantryman who spent 8 years in the military with 330 combat missions in Iraq engaging in urban warfare. He's a former police officer here in the United States. He's a recent instructor for SIRA. That's the Suspicious Indication Recognition and Assessment Organization that provides intelligence to local and federal law enforcement to assist in combating terrorism here in America. So in other words, he's completely unqualified to be here talking to us, because he might actually bring facts or truth to the scene. We'll probably get shadow banned after this one. Travis Thorpe, welcome to PC Radio. Thanks a lot for being here this evening.
Thank you very much to both of you for having me here. It's an honor to be here on this amazing show that is blowing up like crazy. Many congratulations to both of you. Your show has got tremendous success.
Well,
I'm
thank
very
you.
proud of both of you,
brother.
We appreciate that. And, just for full transparency here and responsible journalism, I know Travis personally, okay? And Travis introduced me to Rocky Stucci. Rocky Stucci is the one that told Richard and I, you should try out a show of your own. And bang, here we are, over 1 million strong on iHeartRadio and doing numbers on the OpsLens Facebook page that I never thought possible. Make sure that you download the OpsLens app. Also, welcome to our Mojo 50 listeners and check out Clout Hub. We're on channel 200. Travis, civil war is all but imminent in the United States. On our streets right here, in our concrete jungles and possibly spilling into the suburbs. I mean, we saw civil war. We didn't see it. We've seen documentaries about it. It was bloody. It was awful. I think when people talk about civil war and when Black Lives Matter Incorporated or, Antifa, the new ISIS for pussies, march down the streets and they say they want war. Do you think that these little 19-year-old millennial titty-sucking little boys have any idea what war actually looks like?
No, and to be fair, I mean, most soldiers that are 17, 18 years old don't know what it looks like either until they get there.
Yeah.
Right. And we become baptized in that blood. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't know until you know. And that's the scary part, right? Everybody's ramped up, the emotions are high, and they think they want a certain thing, and they don't know until it really happens.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for almost every infantryman that I served with, when you first get into your very first theater of combat, you kind of get thirsty to go seek out your combat infantryman's badge, right? This is your mark of doing your job. You actually received enemy fire, you killed the enemy, and now here's a little medal for your chest, right? You did your job. And you go chasing it because you're indoctrinated to look for it, just like a lot of these little progressive millennial, as you said, titty sucking kids, are banging the war drums for something that they don't know. I know. But once it actually happens and you actually go to war, you actually experience war, it changes you. And you really understand the weight that carries. Now,
and I'm going to interrupt you because we talked yesterday on Veterans Day. Richard did a really good job of kind of really addressing what it means to be a veteran, okay? What it means to volunteer in the United States military, knowing full well that it's plausible that you're going to be sent overseas to some shithole country where you may be giving the ultimate sacrifice. The government may cash in on the biggest check ever, and you could die defending this country. But those are people who have mentally prepared for that, as much as you possibly can. And I know that you can never fully prepare to see that kind of blood and that kind of horrific detail until you actually get there. And then we kind of talked about that too. But here's I'm going around the block to go across the street here. The question is this. When those people mentally prepare, like yourself and like Richard, there are, you represent the minority of people in this country. I mean, otherwise we'd have an army of 300 million people, right? We don't.
Right.
And so with that being said, the majority of people in this country are incapable of mentally preparing for something like that. And it's going to come to our streets, to our neighborhoods, where we are trying to protect our kids, where moms are going to get groceries, where they're taking their kids from daycare if tyrannical governors are still allowing them to be open. What is it going to actually look like? You worked for SIRA. You understand this. You've been a cop and you've been in war. Tell the listeners what this is going to look like when the tipping point breaks, when the apex is down and the guns get picked up and war really does begin here. I mean, we're not talking conflicts. We're talking war.
Yep. And I would say it's actually two fronts. It's two different prongs, right? So first off, what you're discussing is the initial threshold or that breaking point of a civil unrest where you're going to have citizens pitting against each other, bloodying each other in the streets because of political discourse. The civil war is where there's an actual division in government. And that's what we're going to end up seeing as well, because Biden has been declared potentate of the Americas and has been anointed by all of the media out there as being the president-elect, no matter what the actual facts are. President Trump is most likely not going to step down. That is a true division in government where we're going to have two presidents at the same time. That is a civil war.
He's absolutely not going to step down. And this two presidents at the same time, just to slow you down here for a second, means that Biden has declared himself the winner. The media has declared Biden the winner. The polls, the actual numbers and the votes say something different. You have to get to 270 electoral votes in order to gain and win the presidency. He's at like 216 now, according to Real Clear Politics, and according to Richard before the show. The entire map now is almost gray because these states are too close to call, and or the massive amount of fraudulent corruption and cheating is coming to light. And I really believe that the powers to be don't really care that the United States citizens are seeing this. But the media is trying to save face as politicians run and hide and trying to decide who they're going to align themselves with. Anybody, by the way, other than Trump, if you align yourself with anybody else, you're going to be a loser. There's no question about it, because this guy does not lose. He wins. And I think that there's more people on the side of freedom, patriotism, individual liberty, the love for America, the Constitution, safety, borders, all of the things that President Trump ran on, all of the things that President Trump talks about that he promised that he was going to bring to America are the things that resonate with the masses, which is why he was duly elected in a landslide against Hillary Clinton. And now we see in these exit polls, and we see in the numbers of people at these rallies, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 strong, are these going to be the same people that are at these rallies that are picking up guns and saying enough is enough, you're not taking my country?
Well, let me tell you something. One second, Travis. Let me tell you something real quick to answer your question real simply, in my opinion, Stu. What it's going to look like in the street, it's going to be quick.
Okay.
Real fast, because as Travis was saying, even soldiers who are young, the ones that Governor Walz deemed just the cooks. Mm-hmm. Yes, they haven't been there. They haven't done that. They've done some training in a little mount site that was made out of 2x4s and things like that, which is great. It's all great training. But when actual combat veterans take to the streets to defend their homes against all these Antifa pussies, it's going to be a real quick fight.
I do have something breaking here, and the reason I was looking down, I just received confirmation from staffers at the White House. We will have President Trump on this program coming up in the second half. So stick around through the commercial break. President Trump will be on here to discuss these things, the coronavirus, Nancy Pelosi, Civil War, the election, all those things. Stick around for the President of the United States. Donald Trump will be on this program. Travis, you were saying?
Yeah, so when we're looking at the conflict starting to break off into the streets, we have to realize that this is a difference between civil war and a civil unrest, right? Or just a bunch of people pissed off killing each other. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, I agree with Richard that we're going to see it kind of end kind of quick right away, right? You're going to see kind of a burst up, and then you're going to see it die down, but it will slowly start to progress up. It's just like the Iraq War. When we came into Iraq, we crushed their army in less than 2 weeks. But then the insurgency came, and then we fought a 15-year war there where we were getting our asses kicked by a bunch of people with a third-grade education, AK-47s and homemade C4, right?
So what you're
we're
saying
the greatest
is
military in the world.
The actual war may be where people actually define themselves, whether it be by a uniform or the colors that they wear, or maybe even, if we're going to use race, the color of their skin, right? And it's really easy to pick out who your enemy is, and it won't matter if you're a black conservative because you're going to be targeted, right? Or it won't matter if you're a white liberal liberal who believes that Black Lives Matter is an actual real organization that cares about black lives, and you're marching with them to try to take over cities, you're going to be targeted, right? So,
well, and chaos will ensue. But here's another part that nobody's discussing.
All right.
That I think is probably one of the biggest parts of this to realize. When we talk about the division of government or the declaration of two presidents at the same time, we have to realize that those marshaled forces of the U.S. Armed Forces will be utilized. Right now, it'll be utilized by our sitting president, 45, and it will be utilized by the opposing party.
Under what authority? What authority would Joe Biden have? He's not the commander in chief.
If you have Congress declaring it, you got media propagating everybody's mind out there with little strings puppeting them. They're going to believe it. They're going to go with it. Right. Also, keep in mind, Richard, you currently serve in the Minnesota Army National Guard, correct?
Yes.
All right. So under General Order Number 1, if General Walz tells you that you're going to lock down everybody in their homes and you're going to go march against the Wisconsin National Guard and you're going to go round for round against the Wisconsin National Guard under General Order Number 1, what do?
You do what you're told. But fortunately enough for me, I'm further far enough along in my career that I'll just throw my uniform on his doorstep, give him the finger, and walk away.
And then you face jail time, right? I mean, if
I'd
you
rather face jail time than march against my own people.
But, I understand that you would rather. I get that you would rather, but I'm just saying you would face jail time in a general court-martial for walking away from your post,
Actually,
right?
Stu, it's much worse than that. Under General Order Number 1, this would be a declaration of wartime.
That's
the
treason.
Punishment is death.
Yes, because that would be what would that
treason.
be? Conduct unbecoming, or no? What is it? It's called
treason.
Yeah, misbehavior in front of the enemy. I think. Yep, treason. Okay.
No hand slaps.
Yeah.
They hang you in the
Yep. And we have to remember that the National Guard is not a federalized force. It is the state's private militia. So you need to look at who is governing your state because he is the commander in chief of that militia.
Unbelievable. I want to address one thing that you said, if Congress declares, but Congress can't declare. According to law here in the United States, if we have a constitutional crisis where there are two presidents, or if we don't have a duly elected president by the time inauguration is supposed to happen, and this does go to Congress, each state only gets one vote. There are 37 Republican states. Thereby, Trump becomes the winner no matter how you slice it. Nancy Pelosi would be rolling over in her hair salon, peeling her mask back, and her wig would probably split right down the middle. But yes, Congress, if they all go by their by their campaign promises, and conservative Republicans are actually conservative and they really are siding with the president, which I have my doubts about, because I think a lot of what we're seeing here and the way that Donald Trump has been attacked since he came down the escalator, a lot of what we see here is coming from establishment Republicans, because Democrats are actually sitting back and pointing at them and saying, hold on a minute, wait, you did that. And there's not Republicans that are vehemently standing there denying any of it. Furthermore, none of them are fervently standing proudly next to the president, with the exception of maybe one or two Republican senators that are standing up for the president and saying that, even Kennedy from Louisiana was on Fox and Friends, I believe it was yesterday morning, saying the last duty that the president needs to take is to fight for Georgia, because we need Georgia we need to win that Senate race down in Georgia. What do you mean the last battle? This battle hasn't even begun yet for President Trump. And if you think that he's just going to go away, man, you've got another thing coming. And the other thing that's coming is that apex, that tipping point that Richard has been predicting. Every day we talk about something that's going to bring the Civil War. But really, if having two presidents, Travis Thorpe, or not having a president at all doesn't bring, or having a president that's refusing to leave the White House, if that doesn't bring it, what's going to? I believe we lost Travis. Yeah, that's all right. And here, the deal is this. Let me see if I can get here even. My screen is all messed up. There we go. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, will be on and joining us here in about 4 or 5 minutes. We've got about 2 minutes before we go to break, and then we will have the President on to talk about all of the things that we're talking about. But Richard, what I was talking about here with Travis before we lost him is, if not having a president or having two presidents doesn't bring civil war to this country, I just don't know what's going to do it.
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be it'll be a real interesting time. One other thing I was thinking about yesterday, and actually we were talking about around the table, is if for whatever reason let's just say for conversation's sake that they do all these recounts and all these legal battles, and they come to the conclusion, which is super far-fetched, that Joe Biden won the election fairly.
Mm-hmm. I
don't believe that that's the truth. I still believe that Donald Trump, even if he does go away from the Oval Office, he's going to have a whole lot of influence.
Absolutely.
He still has almost 72 million people that came out to vote for him, and he isn't going to be silent, right? We know that. He's still going to influence a whole lot of people's lives.
Yeah, he'll be the leader of the Republican Party for a very long time. He's not going anywhere. Barack Obama, I would believe, is still kind of the leader, the de facto leader of the Democrat Party, is he not?
Well, yes. Joe Biden claims that I am the Republican or the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
But I would say that Obama, probably has a lot more.
What Joe Biden says is kind of irrelevant at this point, because he has also said that he is Joe Biden's husband. He has also said that he's running for the United States Senate. So there's a lot of things that Joe Biden has said. None of it really makes a damn bit of difference. You're right, though. The president and 72 million is a low number. That's a very low number, because what was it really? With all of the fraud and the voting manipulation and all of the discrepancies, what was it really? 85, 95 million people that came out and voted for the president? If we ever know, boy, I tell you, there's that, and that's going to be, then there you go again, the tipping point. Really? You tried to keep 15 or 20 million people's votes from counting? Absolutely ridiculous times. 2020, and the President of the United States coming up right after we pay some bills. My name is Stu. That is Richard Leonard. This is Patriotically Correct Radio. Stick around. In about 60 seconds, we're going to have the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will be here on PC Radio to talk to us everything coronavirus, the election, the fraud, everything that is going on in our country. We have to stop down to pay some bills here and to talk about our favorite people that do jewelry, custom jewelry, just for you over at Johnson Jewelers. Make sure that you visit them online worldwide, johnsonjewelers.com. Custom jewelry for you. I had a family crest that was like a sword and everything. The great people over there at Johnson Jewelers put it together. They made a mold. They can do it out of platinum. They can do it out of white gold. They can do it out of gold, silver, anything that you want them to do. Maybe you've got a pendant or a stone that's not set quite right, or maybe you want something completely custom done for your ears or for your wrist or your ring finger or wherever you want to put jewelry, around your neck, on your toe even. Johnson Jewelers is the place to do it. They can do the unthinkable, and the quality is second to none. Make sure to visit them online. No matter where you are, johnsonjewelers.com can help you. A few emails exchanged, a phone call here or there, and the perfect custom piece of jewelry can be made for you by Johnson Jewelers. johnsonjewelers.com. Make sure to visit them today. johnsonjewelers.com. That's johnsonjewelers.com.
Twitter blew up. More offensive than a presidential tweet.
Russia, China, Japan, Mexico, all countries will respect us far more than they do under past administrations.
PC Radio with Stu and Rich. Mojo 50 Radio.
iHeartRadio welcoming 1.3 million, if you go by yesterday's numbers. 1.3 million people, 1,300,000 of you tune into this low-budget afternoon radio broadcast every single day. I don't know if it's because you just don't have anything better to do, or if you enjoy Richard making an ass out of himself every day. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we are relentless seekers of the truth. By the way, the Relentless Truth Seekers Squad is growing massively on Facebook as well. The Ops Lens numbers doing about 150,000 live viewers every single day, and we want you to know about our new store, which launched yesterday. Very exciting stuff. Not nearly as exciting as having the President of the United States on here. It's a great honor to have you, Mr. President. Welcome to Patriotically Correct Radio. I can't tell you how excited we are to have you on the program.
Well, you should be excited because you have me on. The honor should be all yours to have me on your show. I mean, it really should. I mean, it's a tremendous show, and the reason why it's tremendous is because I'm on. I mean, what other reason would there be for it to be a tremendous, great show.
I can't think
the
of any.
ratings are probably going to be huge after this. I can imagine. It's just going to be something else. It's really, really going to be something.
Absolutely. Mr. President, you've refused to concede. You insist the election was rigged. Every major news outlet is reporting the former vice president has won the race. Can you bring some clarity to our listeners and to the American people?
Stu and Richard, nobody brings more clarity than the one and only great Trumpito. And let me tell you something. Nobody has taken the great Trumpito out. Not anytime soon. Not the fake news. Not Sleepy Joe. All they do is lie. Now, listen, if you've been to my rallies, you know that thousands and thousands of people show up. I mean, to see the greatest president that ever lived. And I really am the greatest president that ever lived. I mean, nobody that hasn't been dead for 20 years is voting for Sleepy Joe. I mean, come on. Can you admit that or not? I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you see Joe's rallies, I mean, they got the circles, they got the social distancing. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, are they summoning the mothership? I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, we all know that Sleepy Joe didn't campaign because he was planning on cheating. You know, not just Sleepy. He's totally shot. Everybody knows he's shot. You know, not even Cialis is going to help him either. I mean, he can't even find it in the morning. He's envious of a stiff wind. I mean, come on.
Mr. President, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about COVID restrictions and things like that. And in regards to the COVID vaccination, Pfizer has stated there'll be millions of vaccines available within weeks. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo says that he'll prevent New Yorkers from getting vaccinated. He also, actually, I wanted to bring this up, Mr. President. He actually recently said that if you weren't the president of the United States, you were in New York, he was going to deck you. He wanted to fight you. Is this for political optics? What is this with Cuomo and the other liberal radicals like him?
Stu and Richard, let me tell you, Sonny and his brother Fredo they're just too busy whacking nursing home patients. I mean, when I was at Walter Reed, they realized that they tried to sneak in, put a pillow over my head, but I snuck out. I was way too smart for them. I mean, as many of my followers on Facebook have pointed out, I died at Walter Reed, and in 3 days rose again. And now I'm immune to everything, and I'm never going to die. Super Trump antibodies are actually injected in the new vaccine. And let me tell you something. I've created the best vaccine of all time, 90% effectiveness. These guys are not even 0.015 effective. Cuomo and Fredo know it, and they are scared to death. They know it works, and my ventilators are the best ventilators, too, ever. I mean, they not only cure COVID, but they've done a terrific, amazing job at curing my sleep apnea. I mean, it's something else. I mean, I put on a ventilator every night. Sleep tighter than Sleepy Joe does in the middle of the day. I mean, it really is tremendous. It's something else. It is just unbelievable.
I got to check out these ventilators. Mr. President, there's rumors that the election may be decided by a recount, independent state legislatures, possibly federal court, or even Nancy Pelosi's Congress. Where do you see that going?
Oh, boy.
I see it going nowhere. We're going to win in the most triumphant way possible. I mean, it's not even going to be close. I mean, you've seen my rallies. Have you seen my rallies?
I have.
They've just been tremendous.
Yes.
I mean, when I came to Minnesota, I totally froze my nuts off, and so did everybody else. I mean, Melania had to perform a Mr. Miyagi hand rub miracle to bring me back to life. You should have seen it. It was just amazing, totally amazing. I mean, we had thousands show up, freezing their nuts and tootsies off, singing the YMCA. I mean, you would have thought the Village People went multi-platinum. I mean, supporters will do anything for me. And, you know, listen, my supporters know, and you know, Joe, they've all been cheated and lied to. Listen, in the White House, Joe, I have the best butt kissers that ever lived, and you know that. I mean, seriously, Mike Pence fetches me Diet Cokes all the time. That's one thing, but listen, we'll play politics all day long, but when it comes to my lawyers, they are the best that ever lived. I mean, Giuliani is like Tom Hagen from The Godfather. He'll plant a Chinese hooker at Kamala at Sleepy Joe's honeymoon suite, and he won't know what hit him. I mean, he really won't. I mean, what does Sleepy Joe have for a lawyer? Who does he have? Lanny Davis? You know, finding the definition of what the word is, or what the definition of a ballot really is. I mean, half these election workers are Hunter Biden's crack dealers. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, they know I'm going to win, and I'm going to win huge in the end. It's just a matter of time.
And speaking of lawyers,
it's just a matter of time.
You know, you've got Rudy Giuliani is coming out. He's speaking on your behalf, Mr. President. There are really only a couple of people from your own party that have had the testicular fortitude, if you will, to come out and actually stand next to you while you fight for the American people single-handedly, like you've done for the last 4 years. What would you say to your own party right now and these people who are trying to run for their political lives?
What they need to know is that I hold the holy hand grenade from Antioch, and I will blow my foe into itty-bitty little pieces. I really will. They know that. You know that. You know that I know that they know that I know they know that. It's just going to be tremendous. It's going to be the biggest victory that you have ever seen. It's not even going to be close. Mitt Romney and all the rest of them, they're total losers. I mean, they're just terrible. They got the magic underwear going on. I'm not sure what's up with Mitt Romney, but they don't know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing, and everybody knows that I'm going to win. I'm going to win huge. It's going to be terrific. It really is.
Sir, one question for you here. There's been a lot of speculation that you should be and very well may be at some point put on Mount Rushmore. What do you say to that?
I think that's a tremendous idea. Let me tell you something. 70 million people voted for me, the best minority turnout ever by a Republican president in recent history. Sleepy Joe got the dead vote locked up. He's got the purple-haired Antifa crack vote locked up. He's also got the Hunter crack pipe drug dealer felon vote all showed up. But listen to what I have. I've got 50 Cent. I've got Lil Wayne. I've got some of the biggest names in rap music on my side. It's ridiculous. I'm going to get you drunk off my hump, my little Trumpy humps. It's tremendous. I mean, I got Dennis Rodman, Herschel Walker. I mean, who do they have? What, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. So, I've done more than Abraham Lincoln, so I should be on Mount Rushmore. There's no question about that. I mean, seriously, what did Lincoln do? Chop down a cherry tree or something? I'm not sure what he did. I mean, that's how you get the Lincoln Logs, right? I mean, what is it? He's got his head on a penny. I mean, the Trump coins out there are much better than a worn-out old penny. I mean, those Trump coins are worth thousands, and that's just the ones with the chocolate inside when you peel off the foil. I mean, there's not going to be a civil war. I mean, because I'm going to win and win huge.
Well, good.
I always win.
I'm glad you put that to
We
rest.
hope so.
I know that I only have a couple of minutes left with you here, and so before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you, Mr. President, a lot of people tune into our show every day, and they listen to us pontificate about you and support you, and we are avid supporters of you. To support our show, do you think that before you go, you might be able to do a little drop for our show where we can kind of play it in rotation and maybe tell the listeners how great and wonderful we are? Because we need that. We could use that.
Yeah.
It would be a tremendous honor for me to do that for you, and I'll absolutely do that if it makes you feel good, because you're going to have huge ratings. The biggest, most huge show on the face of the planet. Very honest, probably the most honest ever. Some shows say they're more honest, but that's just fake news. They're just like Crooked Hillary. Not these guys. They don't know what they're talking about because they're losers, all right, all of them. They're all fake news losers, except for Stu and Richard here on Politically Correct Radio. Your show has the ratings, and you just keep winning, just like me, the great Trumpito. I should have given the award to you instead of Rush Limbaugh, because you guys are the best. And you know why you're the best? Because I said you're the best, which makes you bigly best.
Wow.
Bigly best, hugely best. More best than Best Buy.
That's
really,
amazing.
Seriously.
That's amazing.
Tremendous.
Mr. President,
Thank you, sir.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate the time that you're taking out of your busy schedule. We know that you've got a big fight to fight here and that you're doing it all alone, and we thank you for standing by us, Mr. President, and we're going to stand by you, us patriots here and the Patriotically Correct crew, and everybody here, the relentless truth seekers. We all have your back, Mr. President. I just want you to know that.
You guys are awesome.
Absolutely.
Trade the swap and make America great again.
All right. Beautiful, Mr. President. President of the United States, that was Donald J. Trump. And what a great honor it was to have him on the program here. Richard, we lost Travis Thorpe in the first half. Mr. President here, Trump said that there's going to be no civil war because he's just going to win. He's just going to win it bigly. He's going to win it huge. And I tend to believe that because I was talking to somebody. We had Eli's birthday was yesterday, so we do have a Veterans Day baby. I cannot believe the boy is 6 years old. When Marie asked him what he wanted for his birthday, what he said was he wanted both mom and dad home, which I thought was really heartwarming. He wanted everybody home, and he wanted mom's lasagna. Mom works at a hospital in the emergency department, and of course, when you work in an environment like that, the people that you work alongside, you become very close to them because you're saving lives together, right? I mean, that's a pretty. You're going through a lot of traumatic things together, and so much like what you and I do at work, Richard, where we put our lives in each other's hands, every day. It's a different dichotomy. It's a different relationship than what a lot of people have in their normal workplace. It just is. And I'm not downing other people what they do at work, but it's just a different thing.
And hard for people to understand as well.
Yeah, it is. And I say all that to say that, Marie has forged some relationships and some friendships there that are certainly going to be lifelong and long lasting. And one of them is with her friend Sam. And Sam has some kids, and we have gone to the water park with the kids, and there's 7 kids total, which is complete pandemonium and total chaos.
Yikes.
Anytime we get together. You should have seen my house last night. It was a complete shit show. Total disaster here. But anyways, they called and they said that they'd like to come over and give Eli some presents, which, by the way, I'm going to get even with them. They gave him a damn bow and arrow, like with real arrows. Okay.
No kidding.
I remember, and if you ask Dave Peters, my father, if he'll never forget my bow and arrow, because there was probably 8 to 12 arrows in the siding of his house when he came home from work one day. What the hell is this going on? Yeah, and I couldn't get them out, because they were embedded into the plywood pretty deep. But anyways, when we had the birthday dinner last night, Jake, Sam's husband, and I, we drink a lot of beer together and we do a lot of talking together, and he's pretty politically in tune. And we were talking about, the president and whether or not he could be defeated. And there really is not an instance that I can see in where the president can lose. So let's talk about it. Electorally, they've removed all of these states from the Biden column. Okay, they prematurely ejaculated. They came out here and they said the Associated Press named him, Biden the president. Bad move. They lied again. Right. They lied again, and now
most news outlets did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
most of them did.
They love being the first to break a story. They have to get the follows. They have to get the clicks. They have to have the social media presence. The network of old was paid by advertisers, right? That's how they were compensated, like we are. Okay, yes. We're compensated by the sale of our merchandise. If you get over there to our merch store, which, by the way, you can find at the Patriotically Correct Radio Show Facebook page, and I believe that Intern Boy is trying to get that up on our website today as well. So I think if you go to the PCRadioshow.com, you'll be able to find it as well. But we get paid off the sale of like mugs. I love the Chris Wallace is a dick mug. That's a great mug. Me too. There's neck gaiters over there. There's cell phone cases, hoodies, really good high quality hoodies too, by the way. These aren't these cheap little bullshit hoodies that shrink and fade and all that. These are good high quality hoodies. There's tank tops, there's ladies apparel, all that stuff. But this is how we get compensated. Traditional sale of goods. Right? People listen to us. We put on a good show. They like us. They support us. They see the shirt. They believe in what we believe in. They go buy it. We make a little ching. And then advertisers go, holy shit, these guys are talking to 1 million people or more every single day on iHeartRadio on the station Mojo 50. That's a lot of people that I could reach so that I could sell my shit. And I want them to talk about my things on their show. And so then they pay us to talk about them. That's traditional advertising income. And that is how networks and radio stations and television programs used to earn their money. Now they earn their money by the same way these government elected representatives are earning their money, which is not just by their paycheck, but it's by backroom deals. It's by shady lobbying type handshake, slithering, slimy, nonsensical BS that goes on in the background, which is probably the same type of stuff in the charades, the phony charades that we see with Joe Biden. How does a guy who's been a servant of the public for 47 years, he's never owned a business, started a business, ran a business, or worked for a business. He's been a public servant literally for almost 5 decades, and he's a multimillionaire with 7 homes.
And so that also begs the question for folks who are claiming him to be the savior of the United States of America. How can you look at his 47-year-long career and go, yeah, I think he's a good candidate. He's done a lot of good stuff. Yeah. I don't think anybody's ever really been able to find anything that he's really done.
Right. Except for sponsoring a crime bill. I mean, he did. He was a co-author of the crime bill, and that unjustly jailed an unprecedented amount of African-American people who, by the way, he's a racist. He's a known racist on multiple accounts. And so,
he can be controlled.
He's bought and paid for all day long. And not only is he bought and paid for by lobbyists and special interests here in the United States, but foreign countries, actual adversaries, enemies of the United States, Russia, Ukraine, China. They own him, and he used his own son as a money mule, a little vacuum cleaner, as the president would say, to go around the world and cash in on all these shady backroom deals. If he is willing to use his son as his mule, if he's willing to think about that,
ours.
Think about that.
Yep.
You're a father.
Willing to use our kids too. Then,
do you think he really gives a shit about yours? Right. That was going to be the question. Do you think if he's willing to use his own son? Do you think he cares about yours? Do you think he cares about this country? But anyway, back to the conversation at hand. We were having this talk last night about whether or not the president can win. And I said, I just don't see a way where the president can lose because he's not going to. He's not going to walk away from that office. He's not. And who is going to physically remove him? I've asked multiple people, and there's different theories on this. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to brass tacks, who's really taking that job? Hey, we need you to go up to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Need you to go up there to the White House. It'll be the big orange man with the blonde hair, and he's in the that oval-shaped office. We need you to get him out of there.
Maybe they'll hire TCAT.
I'm not taking that job.
I was going to say, well, they're going to get a lot of voicemails.
We're going to have to look elsewhere. I really don't know a way that the president can lose. So we've talked about electorally, they prematurely called this thing, and now all of these states are coming out of the blue and turning back into the gray. And I don't know, the gray is supposed to be the too close to call, right? I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that it's too close to call. I think there's too much corruption at hand. There's too much fraud right out in the wide open that I think the media might be starting to say, this is going to start a war. This is going to, I mean, I know that we had the president on here and he's confident in his victory and he predicts that there will be no civil war. He's a great champion for optimism. However, I just see something, I see a different story.
Well, and I don't know, that may be what the media wants. Like people have said before, bad news travels faster. And so maybe the media is excited for all this public discourse and this unrest because now people are going to tune in to see, well, what's going on in Minneapolis and, they were burning shit down in Dallas. Let's check it out.
Yeah. If they can't report and be responsible journalists to bring you the news, they will literally go manufacture their own news. They will poke the bear. It's like we talked about Blippi. Jake was pointing out last night, this Blippi guy, he's a multimillionaire and a total genius with what he has done with YouTube, and now he's on Amazon Prime, and I think he's on Spotify. The guy is everywhere, and it's a children's show. I'm sure if you don't live under a rock, you've heard of this Blippi guy. But you know what Jake pointed out to me last night is, he actually teaches kids how to be naughty. Like, have you ever noticed that? He was at the zoo and there was this fence and there was this huge tortoise there, right? And the fence said, restricted area, do not enter, blah, blah, blah. Blippi's like, shh. And he creeps over the fence and he goes up by the tortoise and brings his cameraman and he's like, this is a tortoise. Dude, you just taught my kid how to sneak over a fence into a restricted area. I don't appreciate that. There was another episode.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was another episode where he was teaching kids how to wash cars, right? And before you can wash a car, you have to get it dirty. So he had squirt bottles full of ketchup and mustard, and he's walking around the truck, just spraying ketchup and mustard all over this thing, laughing it up, getting ready to wash this truck. What do you think kids are going to do to their parents' vehicles? They're going to grab squirt bottles of the closest thing that they can find, and then dad's going to walk in and go, "What in the hell are you doing?" "Well, I was just getting ready to clean your truck." Blippi taught me how to do this.
Yeah.
Insane. So if he doesn't win electorally, the other way for him to win is just to say, no, there was fraud here, and for the attorneys and for the Justice Department to launch an investigation and actually prove that the election was illegitimate and a total fraud, and then the whole thing gets redone. Now, in Georgia, they have already, as of yesterday, we broke on our show that they have started a total hand recount, correct? And so when you were talking on this show with somebody else, I don't remember who it was. I think it was D-Ron Slater. And D-Ron said, I agree with you, Richard. I think that we should just do a do-over. We should just trash the whole election and do it over. I said, there's absolutely no way that's going to happen. But you know what? It's looking like you guys were right and that may actually come to fruition.
That would be sweet. That would be really sweet. And hopefully it's done differently if it comes to that.
You mean you don't want to use the Dominion software?
No, absolutely not. If they can hand count every ballot in Georgia, if they redo an election in any state, they can hand count those.
Yeah, and so do we have to redo the election,
January 20th,
or can we or just use the election that we already did, but just recount? Or was it so corrupt that, I mean, look, even you have ballots that had only one candidate's name on it. It just said Joseph Biden. It didn't even have Kamala Harris on there or any of the congressional candidates, Senate candidates, local candidates in the down ballot. It didn't have Donald Trump on there, but it didn't have any other name on there. So then would that be a ballot that gets hand recounted? Obviously not. That one would be trashed. So then where did that ballot come from, and whose vote did that take away in place of somebody else, or were those additional ballots? And that's why we're seeing more votes in places like Detroit than there are actually registered voters. I mean, it's just such a complicated shit show of a mess.
Yeah, I believe it's the biggest scam of this whole election, I think, and there's a lot of them, but I think the biggest one was the mail-in voting.
Yeah. Well, that's
100%.
That's why they started this thing, and that's why Nancy Pelosi, when the coronavirus started, becoming international news, and they labeled it a pandemic. This is officially now a pandemic. They were so excited in the media to say that, so excited, because they never let a good crisis go to waste. And so when Nancy Pelosi was recognized, the light bulb went on, and she went, "Holy shit! I can legitimately politicize the hell out of this thing and scare the bejesus out of people, keeping them away, because we all know that Donald Trump has an organic following. You cannot deny that. Wherever this guy goes, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands would be there if they were allowed to be, if the facility would hold them. But, anywhere 10, 20, 30, 40, upwards of 50, 60,000 people at some of these really big rallies, with another 20 or 30,000 people waiting outside. They can't find places to park their cars. Law enforcement has to shut it down. And like the president was saying on this show earlier, look at Sleepy Joe's rallies. Look at them.
They got the circles and the...
And they pretend, and they it's virtue signaling. They pretend like it's because of this fake virus. And listen, when you hear me call it a fake virus, I am echoing the president. Okay. And the reason why I call it a fake virus is not because I believe the virus to be fake. I believe the virus to be real. And I know that there are certainly tragic deaths out there as a result of this virus infecting somebody who probably was immunocompromised or elderly or had some other underlying health conditions that made them weaker. And maybe there are strains of the virus that impact everybody differently. Right. And so whereas I might not be able to fight it off, Richard, and I might die if I get the thing, I thought I was otherwise healthy, but I might die if I get it. You might live. We just don't know enough about this thing, other than the fact that Pfizer has a vaccination that's over 90% effective, when the seasonal flu vaccination against H1N1 is only 37% effective, but we still deem that to be, you got to go get the flu shot, right? We're generally happy with the flu shot and the vaccination as a country.
And I'm glad it's Pfizer that developed this vaccination. They had groundbreaking work when they invented and marketed and shipped Viagra. And now they're going to cure the coronavirus.
Yes, they're going to. Yeah. Okay. So when I call it the fake virus, what I mean is fake is not the virus itself. What I mean is fake are the numbers that surround the virus. Okay. Because out of 200, with all of the corruption and phony reporting that we've seen from healthcare providers and from testing places, from government institutions, it's just as phony as the election was. And so it's not the virus that's fake, it's the response to it that's fake. It's the over-politicizing of this virus. It's the control and compliance using fear and health and safety as the guise and the way to herd people and make them move in a certain direction to prevent them from doing things or do things that you want them to do.
Well, I think you hit it on the head, man. It's the control by fear. And, we hear about it all the time, that people are terrified to go out of their house and terrified to go here and go there. And I have just recently, actually, personally, with my own eyes and ears, seen and heard this fear. And I was, and to be honest, I was extremely taken back by it. Like, whoa, I mean, we hear about it and we talk about it on the show, and you read things on Facebook, but I was in a situation the other day and this lady was just like deathly afraid of leaving the house, and she was screaming at her husband on the phone. And it's like, man, you have more than a 99% chance of beating this thing should you contract it. what are you so scared of? I mean, she's crippled by it. Like, she goes to, apparently, from all accounts, she goes to work. She doesn't even stop and get gas, right? She makes her husband go get the gas because he's already has to be out at work and he's among people at his job. So she makes her husband go get the gas. She orders the groceries, lets him sit outside for a little bit before she grabs him from the door. It's just crazy, man. Working home, and that's it. And she's terrified.
It is.
It's sad.
It's really sad. And think about the way that it's affecting our kids. We've talked about this before, but these kids in the new normal that I'm talking about, that they're trying to make me accept and be happy with, these kids, you know, when you're talking 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, right? I mean, they are just doing what they're told to do. And it's normal now for them to go to school and wear a mask. It's normal to sit 6 feet away from all of their friends. It's normal to not get the interaction or be able to recognize people by their faces, but instead only by the masks that they typically wear. This is the new normal. The psychological damage that this is doing to our country's super youth is irreparable. It's absolutely devastating to watch. It's so sad. I really get choked up when I think about my innocent little kids. You know, where's the times where you just go out on a tartan curve and you grab your old baseball glove and you throw the ball with your buddy, or get on your bike and ride to the nearest pond and jump in it with your jeans on, you know,
build a jump
and make a fort, and, you know, all these types of things that you're just not able to do anymore because you got to be worried about somebody grabbing your kids and raping them in the butthole, or stealing them and taking them and selling them on the dark web, you know, and now we have this virus. Boy, I really feel bad. I really feel bad for kids growing up in all this stuff. We want to thank Travis Thorpe for being here in the first half. We also want you to go over to our store. Make sure that you check out our store right now. The only way that I know for sure that you can find it is by going to our Facebook page, the Patriotically Correct Radio Show. Lots of cool stuff on there. You're going to want to see it. And of course, we want to thank the president for being here in the second half today. So for Richard Leonard, my name is Stu Peters. Until tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central, here's what's up to it. Here's what's down to it. Here's to any way you can get to it. Here's to those that don't do it. May they be dragged to it, tied to it, or forced to it. And here's to us who do it, because we're the ones that's used to it. Remember, one day they're going to come for the car, and when they do, save the radio!